Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on time management. The whole goal of this webinar today is to make you better planners. So first of all, I want to welcome everybody from Team XYZ Bakery. Your supervisor had asked me to speak to you for a few minutes today to give you some tools to help you become better planners. So first off, let me just introduce myself. My name is Rebecca Dunstan. I am a management consultant, and I'm also a certified Franklin Covey facilitator. So in the agenda today, we're going to talk about planning and strategy. Then we're going to talk about 7 Habits of Highly Effective Managers by Stephen Covey. We're going to discuss specifically 2 habits that have to do with planning and strategy. And then I'm going to demonstrate 2 tools that are going to help you with both short-term and long-term planning. So first off, let's get into what short-term and long-term planning is, okay? So short-term planning is the process of setting small intermediate milestones to achieve within closer timeframes when moving towards an important overall goal. Short-term objectives drive towards short-term expectations, such as creation of policies or operational plans. So for example, if your overall company goal is to make sure you have a healthy and safe working environment, then you might create a policy that each new employee has to have safety training upon their orientation. Then we get into long-term planning. Long-term planning is about setting a process by which a particular strategic plan will be achieved. The process focuses on activities that start now and continue well into the future. This relates to objectives that will be accomplished well into the future, and that means usually over a year away, a year to 5 years. The important thing about long-term planning is that these plans involve strategies to achieve the company's mission and vision statements, and we'll talk about that more later when I get into the second tool. So some of the tools and strategies that you can use for planning are as follows. You have participatory planning. That means that you may know best when it comes to how to approach certain projects. This is a style of planning that involves stakeholders that may be directly affected by a new initiative or proposed change in the operating procedures. So if you were trying to put a project in place that has to do with achieving that overall company goal, this is when you get everybody together to say, okay, how are we going to achieve that goal? You know, Joe, who works on the line, may know all the tricks and ins and outs, and he may know those issues that need to be solved to reach that goal of, say, becoming more efficient. Then you have benchmarking. So the question about benchmarking is somebody doing it better? So this is all about comparing Joe's work to Bob's work to see if one has a better way of doing it. Or on a bigger level, it's looking at another company outside of your own company to see, hey, how are these people doing it? And can we copy that to make it better? Or can we even improve on it to make it even better? The final planning tool is called scenario planning. So this is about anticipating future events and creating a plan to deal with them. So thinking about what could happen and then saying, hey, if this happens, what are we going to do about it? So you're prepared. Okay. So the first tool that I'm going to talk about with short-term planning actually has to do with scenario planning. So before I get into the tool, I'm just going to introduce you guys quickly to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Managers by Stephen Covey. So there are 7 habits, and quickly just reading through them. 1 is to be proactive, 2 is to begin with the end in mind, 3 is to put things first, 4 is to think win-win, 5 is to seek first to understand and then to be understood. And then habit 6 is synergize. The final habit is sharpening the saw, which is about always continuously improving. So the habit that we're going to talk about that has to do with short-term planning is beginning with the end in mind. Okay? So what this means, okay, is it means to begin each day, task, or project with a clear vision of your desired direction and destination, and then continue by flexing your proactive muscles to make things happen. So the tool that I'm going to talk about that helps you begin with the end in mind is something called a 5-minute meeting planner. So this is a planning tool that helps you to begin with the end in mind. It does this by having you set objectives and time constraints during the meetings, and this keeps the team focused on the task at hand in a predetermined amount of minutes. So let's talk about the flip side to this. You could be having an issue in your plant or your company or wherever, and you say, hey, let's have a meeting. Well, if you don't know what the outcome of this meeting is supposed to be, you're probably going to be in a room for an hour with everybody talking to each other, and you're going to come out of it with no resolution. So let us go into this 5-minute meeting planner and do this together, okay? So I have one here already set up. And you can see, so this is the 5-minute meeting planner. You can see the gist of it. Really, you're saying the name, the location, what the goal of the meeting is. What do we hope to achieve out of this meeting? What do we need to run this meeting? And then you want to have your agenda just like I did at the beginning of this webinar. So if you're in that meeting room, what are we going to talk about? Okay. And then some notes that came. And then this is all, the second page is really filling it out after the meeting has happened. So you have that follow-up. So let's look at an actual 5-minute meeting planner that I filled out. So you can see we know where we're meeting, we know when, we know how long. We've set a half an hour timeline, okay? So the goal of this meeting is to discuss customer complaints about the quality of their pies, okay? So the quality manager is freaking out saying, oh my gosh, I'm getting complaints every day. So we want to have a meeting. Well, we don't just want to say we're having a meeting about discussing the quality, right? What are we going to do in this meeting? Well, the stakeholders are going to brainstorm based on their experiences. So it's sort of like that participatory planning, right? Where you have other people who are working on the plant floor who might know the problem being involved in this planning meeting, okay? What equipment do we need? Okay, we're going to use a whiteboard, we're going to use markers, we're going to do this for our brainstorming. So now we're going to take that half an hour that we've allotted and we're going to break it down into smaller time slots, okay? So we have a focus when we're in this meeting. So the first 5 minutes, we're going to talk about the complaints. Well, what exactly are they? How many do we have? Then we're going to spend 10 minutes with the team brainstorming. Okay, we're going to make that time bound. We're going to keep that to the 10 minutes, so we're not going on for an hour. Then the next 10 minutes, we're going to talk about possible actions to put in place to improve the quality. So what did we find out are the root causes, and what are we going to do to alleviate those issues? Then the last part of the meeting, we're going to assign the duties and schedule a follow-up. So if this is what we decided, this is what Joe does, this is what Bob does, and this is when we meet again. So in the note section, for example, this is where you're going to take these during the meeting. So you'd put the observations such as Joe thinks that the new people aren't making the crust shape properly. So that could be something that was identified, okay? And you put that in your notes there. So now, at the end of the meeting, this is important because you want to make sure you don't just walk away with no objectives or no goals. At the end of the meeting, you go, okay, what did we decide? Okay, so this is to be filled out at the time of the meeting, and this is where the actions that came out of the meeting are documented. And you'll see down here in the tasks where we assign that. So did we achieve the goal of the meeting? Yes, we did. We identified the issues and we have some action plans. Sometimes the answer is going to be no, and that's because the meeting has to be it's going to take a lot longer, and you may have to do some more planning before you come back to the next meeting. So in this case, yes, we did. So out of this meeting, our tasks that we had were Joan has to take pictures of good quality product because people weren't clear of what the good quality was. You assign who is responsible and you set a deadline so that you're not coming back in a month. When you set a deadline, like, hey, I'm going to lose weight by March 3rd, right? You don't want to say, I'm just going to lose weight, because then that leaves it open forever. So, and then the next one is Bob has to post pictures in the plant. So that's his duty. Once Joan takes them, he puts them out in the plant, got his deadline. And then, of course, the most important aspect is that the employees have to be trained on the new procedure. Okay. And then you have another note section to say, well, hey, let's follow up in a week after we do the last action item, and let's evaluate how this new plan is working. Okay. So again, this is a tool that helps you begin with the end in mind. You have a clear set goal, and then you assign tasks to reach that goal. So now, that being said, let's talk about a tool that's going to help you achieve your long-term goals, to do some long-term planning. And that has to do with habit 3, which is put the first things first. So what that means is putting first things first means organizing and executing around your most important priorities. It is living and being driven by principles you value most, not by the agendas and forces surrounding you. Okay, so let me explain that last sentence. This is, you have clear goals, you work towards them every day. And what it means when I say the agendas and forces surrounding you is that if Joe comes up to you and says, hey, can you file these papers today? And you've got your 3 goals in mind and you have a plan that day to work towards them, can you fit that surrounding agenda into your already existing goals? So I'm going to discuss a long-term planning tool that will help you achieve your overall company's goals, and it breaks it down into objectives and the tasks that you have to do to achieve those objectives. So this planning tool is called a work compass, and it helps you put first things first. So in order to first make a plan, you must understand the vision, mission, and goals of your company. Okay, and then objectives can be created that align with these goals. So we talked about this earlier. Let's talk about your company's specific vision and mission statements. So I talked to your supervisor and I was told that your vision is to be innovative in the baking industry while continually creating comforting memories for our customers with our products that remind them of a childhood filled with scents from and tastes from mom's oven. So that's your overall vision. Let's break that down into your mission statements that are going to help you achieve that overall vision. So again, I was told that your mission statements are as followed. So be a bakery that makes quality baked goods from the highest quality of ingredients and with no preservatives. Create a safe working environment where employees' well-being and safety is top priority, and create an atmosphere where employees can learn, grow, and innovate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those mission statements and I'm going to put them in this tool to show you how you can use it to achieve those long-term goals, to achieve the mission that your company has set out. So again, I have a work compass here. I'll make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. So here's your work compass, and this is designed to be filled out every week. Okay, so your wildly important goals go at the top. So these are going to be those 3 things that your company's top goals were, okay, which was having high quality products, making sure you have a safe environment, and making sure you have innovation with your employees. So those goals are always going to be the same. They're going to be here, they're going to be here, here. Every week they stay the same. But your weekly objectives are going to probably be different because these are quicker action items that you can put in place to achieve those long-term goals. So let's look at a work compass that I already created to give you a better idea of what I mean. Okay, I'll make it a little bigger for you. So again, we're going to do this next week, February 11th. I've taken my mission statements, my goals of the company, high quality goods, create safe and work environment, and employees learn, grow, and innovate. Okay, so what you're going to do to achieve those long-term goals is you're going to set out these weekly objectives that always have to do with those long-term goals. So if we look at create high quality baked goods, right now we're having an issue with our apple pies. They are not the highest quality that we want. So our objective is to solve the apple pie quality issue. That's your objective. So what are the tasks that you have to do that week to work towards meeting that objective? And you've put some things down here. Post pictures of the pies. That's my job. And then I have to train the employees about these new pictures and guidelines that we have to follow. So that's something you're going to achieve that week to lend towards that higher goal. And then when it comes to creating a safe working environment, okay, well, what we're doing right now is we're working with the Health and Safety Committee and we're trying to create an evacuation plan in case of a fire. That's our objective in order to have a safe working environment. Well, what do I have to do in order to achieve that objective? What are my tasks? So I have a couple that I filled in here. Finish the schematic that I'm working on, set up a meeting with the exec team to make sure the schematic is agreed upon. That's what I have to do that week. And then when it comes to employees learning and growing and innovating, well, at your company, you have a project team, okay, where you empower your employees to create their own teams and implement their own projects because, again, of that participatory idea of planning, and using stakeholders. So me as a supervisor, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up with my team's project regarding the line speed innovation. What tasks can I do to achieve that objective? Well, I have to schedule a meeting with the team and find out where they're at, and then we're going to document next steps. So the following week, it'll probably be a follow-up on that until that plan or project is actually implemented. So that is the long-term planning tool. Okay. So now that you have those tools in your belt, you have the 5 minute meeting planner and you have your work compass. What I want you to do now is I want you to start using these tools. While you're using them, if you have any questions and concerns, you can always email me at the email address on your screen right now. And what your supervisor is going to do after you've used these tools for about a month is he's going to follow up with a meeting with you to make sure you understand how to use them and to measure the success of having these new tools in your tool belt and see how it helps you with your time management. So thank you very much, and I hope you learned a lot today about planning and strategy.